Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life. A moment so still, so silent, it nearly passes unnoticed. And yet it holds the power to shift your destiny forever. It is not wrapped in thunder, nor does it always come with a flash of light. No, sometimes, just sometimes, it arrives with a whisper. And if you will only listen, oh, if you will only listen, something inside you will break free. This is that moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, not after one more excuse. Now, there is a fire inside you and you've buried it beneath fear, beneath failure. There comes a moment in every life when the atmosphere around you begins to shift. Not with the noise of thunder or the drama of lightning, but with the quiet stillness of something divine drawing near. And too often, people wait for the grand sign, the unmistakable miracle, the writing in the sky, when all the while the very moment they have been praying for is right here, right now. You see, destiny does not always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it shows up in the middle of your routine, disguised as a choice to believe again, a choice to get up one more time, a choice to say, I will not stay here. We have been trained to wait. Wait until we feel ready. Wait until we have more resources. Wait until we are sure. But the truth is, change rarely comes when you feel fully prepared. It comes when your spirit whispers, enough waiting. It comes when something inside you knows that staying where you are is no longer acceptable. And that's when the shift begins, not on the outside but within. It begins the moment you realize that your next level doesn't require permission from your past. It doesn't need the approval of the people who misunderstood you. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It needs your yes, it needs your now. This moment, this very breath you are taking is loaded with potential. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. There is something sacred about now. It's the only place where decisions are made, where futures are shaped, where power is born. The past is unchangeable, the future is unwritten, but now is yours to command. And yet how many people live in a constant state of almost? Almost ready, almost brave, almost healed. They live on the edge of change but never step in, because the now feels too uncertain, too vulnerable. But let me tell you, as the only way to see your life transform is to stop postponing your power. Waiting for a better time is a strategy of delay. It sounds wise, but underneath it often hides fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of repeating the past. But if you listen closely, past all the noise, past all the pressure, you'll hear something ancient and eternal calling you to rise. Not later, not when it's convenient, but now. There is no fire in maybe. There is no miracle in delay. The power of your life is ignited the moment you step into this present moment with faith, with surrender, with boldness. This is the hour when heaven leans in, when destiny reaches out its hand and says, come. There is no one coming to save you in the way you thought. No one is going to knock on your door with a perfectly laid out plan. The truth is, the plan begins the moment you decide to move. Not perfectly, not even confidently, just obediently. That's where all change begins, in obedience to the whisper inside you that says, go. You may not see the full path. You may not know what's waiting around the corner. But the moment you say yes to now, the moment you take that first trembling step, you release a chain reaction that heaven has been waiting to start. Everything begins to align, not because of chance but because you stepped into divine timing. You are not disqualified by your past, though the memories may rise like shadows, whispering guilt into your mind, though the choices you made may still echo in the chambers of your heart, they do not have the authority to cancel your future. We have been conditioned to believe that our mistakes define us, that our failures write the final chapter. But that is a lie. A clever, cruel lie meant to keep you small, silent, and stuck. The truth is, every scar on your soul is a sign not of disqualification, but of survival. And there is nothing more powerful than a person who has walked through the fire and lived to tell the story. The past may have shaped you, but it cannot shackle you, not unless you let it. Every broken place you've been, every wrong turn, every tear-stained night has been gathered and held by something greater than you. You thought you ruined it. You thought you missed your moment. But what if the moment wasn't missed at all? What if the fall was part of the rising? What if the very thing you're ashamed of is the exact place your strength will come from? You see, redemption doesn't erase the past. It transforms it. It turns ashes into beauty, mourning into joy, and failure into foundation. You are not your worst decision. You are not the sum of what they said about you. You are not the one who gave up. You are the one who learned, who grew, who crawled back from what was meant to destroy you. And don't you dare forget it. There is power in the testimony of a life that almost didn't make it. There is purpose in the comeback. There is glory in the restoration. So when shame comes knocking, let it find no home. When regret tries to build its altar in your heart, tear it down. Because where guilt once reigned, grace now flows. Where you once fell, you now stand, not in your own strength, but in the strength born from pain and perseverance. People may have walked away, they may have disqualified you, judged you, labeled you, but their opinion is not your identity. Their silence is not your sentence. There is one who still calls you by name, not by what you did, but by who you are. And when that voice speaks, all other voices lose their power. The very thing the enemy used to try to break you is the thing that will mark you with wisdom, compassion, and authority. Because you've lived it, and those who've lived it carry a power that can't be faked, taught, or borrowed. Don't you know? Some of the greatest callings are born from the deepest wounds. Some of the most powerful people are those who had every reason to quit, but didn't. And that includes you. That includes your story. That includes the parts you're still afraid to tell. You are not damaged goods. You are not the exception to grace. You are not the one left behind. The fact that you are still here, reading these words, breathing this breath, holding on in spite of everything, that is the proof. The past didn't win. It couldn't. Because there is still more in you, still more ahead, still more that must come forth from the soil of your struggle. Your past is not the end. It is the evidence that the story is still being written. Breakthrough begins with belief, not the kind of belief that's shallow or conditional, not the belief that rises when everything is going well and fades when things get hard. No, the kind of belief that births breakthrough is deeper. It is forged in the fire. It is shaped in the silence when prayers feel unanswered and the path ahead is unclear. It is the belief that chooses to trust even when there's no evidence. It is the quiet conviction that says, there must be more. Even when your surroundings tell you to settle. So many wait for the breakthrough first, then they promise to believe. They want the walls to fall before they march. They want to see the harvest before they plant the seed, but it never works like that. The miracle does not precede the faith, it responds to it. Faith comes first. Faith is what unlocks what has been waiting behind the invisible curtain of your comfort zone. It is the key that turns in the lock of fear and says, no more. It's not about being certain. It's about being willing. Willing to take one step when everything in you says stay still. Willing to say yes when your past screams no. Willing to believe when logic says it's impossible. That belief, it's not weakness, it's a weapon. A force so powerful that it can alter the direction of your life. Because when you start to believe differently, you start to live differently. You stop accepting what is, and you start contending for what could be. You stop shrinking to fit your surroundings and begin stretching into your calling. Belief shifts your posture. It straightens your back. It lifts your eyes. It makes you walk into rooms differently, speak to people differently, and speak to yourself differently. And belief doesn't start with the world around you. It starts inside. It starts in that hidden place where nobody else can see. The inner sanctuary of your spirit. It starts when you stop rehearsing defeat and start declaring promise. It starts when you choose to see yourself not as broken beyond repair but as a vessel still in process. When you begin to believe, truly believe that your life is not an accident, your pain is not wasted, and your future is not finished, something begins to shift. The atmosphere around you changes. The weight you've been carrying begins to lift. Doors that were locked begin to creak open. Not because your circumstances have changed, yet, but because your faith did. Breakthrough begins the moment you decide that where you are is not where you'll stay. It begins when you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I rise? It begins when you stop disqualifying yourself from the goodness you long for and start daring to believe it was meant for you too. Not just for others, not just for those who seem to have it all together, but for you, for the one who's fought in silence, for the one who's doubted, who's wandered, who's barely held on. That's who belief is for. That's who breakthrough is waiting for. Because nothing changes until you believe it can. You don't walk into healing unless you believe healing is possible. You don't step into purpose until you believe you were born for something more. You don't claim victory until you believe that losing isn't your destiny. And belief, real, rooted, relentless belief, doesn't wait for everything to be perfect. It just moves, even when it's trembling, even when it's unsure, because it knows something greater is coming. You are not forgotten. Though the nights have felt endless and the silence has stretched farther than your hope could reach, you are not overlooked. Though your prayers have echoed back to you unanswered, and though you've watched others walk into their victories while you remained in the waiting, you have never been invisible. There is a presence that has been with you in every hidden place, watching, holding, remembering. Not one tear has been wasted, not one moment ignored. Even when you felt alone, you were being carried. Even when you were surrounded by emptiness, you were not abandoned. It's easy to feel unseen when the world moves so fast, when noise and success seem to belong only to those who are louder, bolder, or more polished. But there is a sacredness in being hidden. In those seasons where no one claps for you, no one texts, no one checks in, and you begin to wonder if your life has fallen into the shadows. But even in the shadows, growth is happening. The roots of your strength are being dug deep. The foundation of your purpose is being fortified. And while you may feel forgotten by the world, you are being remembered by something greater, something eternal. There is a divine timeline for your life, and no delay can deny it. No silence can cancel it. You haven't missed your moment. It hasn't passed you by. It's being prepared in ways you cannot yet see. What feels like delay is often divine preservation. What feels like a closed door is often protection. What feels like the end is sometimes the beginning wrapped in disguise. You are not being ignored, you are being readied. There is a difference. Sometimes you have to be hidden before you're revealed. Sometimes the preparation happens away from the crowd so that when you do step into your moment, you'll be rooted enough not to fall. Your character is being formed in the quiet. Your faith is being strengthened in the silence. And your calling is being shaped in the places no one applauds. Don't confuse absence of applause with absence of value. The loudest shifts often happen in the stillness. The greatest warriors are not made on platforms. They are forged in private battles. You are not forgotten just because you're not being celebrated right now. You are not forgotten just because others seem further ahead. The comparison is a lie. Their pace is not your pace. Their calling is not your calling. There is something specifically designed for you. Doors that only you can walk through, assignments only you can fulfill. And they will come not 1 second too late, not 1 moment too early, but precisely when you are ready. Precisely when the timing aligns with the purpose stitched into your being. The world may not have noticed all the times you kept going when you wanted to quit. It may not see the nights you cried and still showed up the next day. But heaven sees. The unseen is recorded. The unspoken is heard. You have not been forgotten. Not in your silence, not in your pain, not in your questions. You are being seen even now. Held even now. Known even now. And the timing of your breakthrough, your release, your rise. It's not a matter of if, but when. There is purpose in your pain. Not the kind of pain that's easy to explain or justify. Not the kind that people can wrap in neat sayings or empty encouragements. This is the kind of pain that reaches deep into your soul, that steals your breath, that makes you question everything. And yet, even that pain is not wasted. It's not meaningless. It didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal something inside you that comfort never could. Because pain, as cruel as it may feel, is often the birthplace of transformation. You didn't choose the suffering. You didn't ask for the disappointment, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the loss. But here you are, still breathing, still standing, and even if you're standing with a limp, you haven't given up. That matters, that counts. The pain that tried to take you out has, in some mysterious way, become the thing that's shaping you. It's carving out compassion in you. It's building empathy where judgment once lived. It's teaching you to feel, to listen, to see people, not just their smiles but their silent battles. Pain teaches you things that success never could. It reveals your resilience. It exposes the parts of you that need healing and the parts of you that hold unexpected strength. It humbles you. It softens you. And if you let it, it will grow you. Because pain invites you to go deeper, not just into sorrow but into surrender. Into a place where your pride has to die and your heart has to open. Into a space where you stop pretending and start becoming. Not the version of you that the world expects, but the real you. The you that is fully alive, fully aware, fully engaged in the fight for your life. There's purpose in your pain because it's part of your becoming. You may not see it now. You may still be in the middle of the ache, the confusion, the unanswered questions. But one day you'll look back and see how every broken moment pushed you closer to truth. How every closed door made you more creative. How every loss taught you what really matters. Pain doesn't just hurt, it refines. It strips away what isn't essential. It forces you to confront what you've ignored. It awakens you to what is real. And sometimes, the pain isn't about you at all. Sometimes the very thing you walked through becomes the key to someone else's freedom. What you survived becomes someone else's hope. The story you thought was too shattered to speak out loud becomes a roadmap for someone lost in the same darkness. There is purpose in your pain because it connects you to others in a way nothing else can. It breaks down walls. It builds bridges. It reminds you that you're not alone, and it gives you the power to remind someone else they're not alone either. You didn't come through that pain for nothing. There's a depth in your eyes now, a strength in your voice, a fire in your bones. You've earned that through the hard nights and the silent suffering. And even if you're still walking through it, that pain is doing something sacred. It's tilling the soil of your heart. It's preparing you for the kind of growth that only comes when everything else has been stripped away. It's shaping you for a future you haven't yet imagined, for a purpose bigger than you ever thought possible. Don't settle for survival, rise. You were not created to simply exist, to breathe and pay bills and repeat the cycle until you fade into the background of your own life. There is something in you that was born to rise, born to lead, born to stand tall even in the middle of the storm. Survival is what you do when you're trying to hold on, when life has knocked the wind out of you and all you can think about is making it to the next day. And yes, there are seasons when surviving is a triumph. But you were never meant to live there. Survival is a chapter, not your whole story. Somewhere along the way you may have started shrinking. Maybe life taught you that dreams were dangerous, that expectations would only lead to disappointment. Maybe you got tired of hoping, tired of trying, tired of opening your heart just to have it broken. So you closed it, you settled. Not because you didn't want more, but because more started to feel impossible. But there's something in you that refuses to die. That whisper inside you, the one that won't go quiet, the one that keeps saying, there's more. That is your soul reminding you that you were not made to merely survive. There is a difference between living and being alive. Being alive is biological. Living is intentional. It's leaning into purpose. It's refusing to let your past define your pace. It's waking up and daring to believe that today could be the day something shifts. That maybe you're not too late. That maybe what you carry still matters. You don't have to have it all figured out to rise. You just have to be willing to stop settling for less than what was placed in you before time began. Settling looks like silence when you were born to speak. It looks like smallness when your spirit was made for impact. It looks like routine that numbs rather than fuels. You weren't made to keep your head down and play it safe. You were made to take ground, to walk boldly, to lift others as you rise. There is a fire inside you that survival tried to extinguish, but it's still burning, even if it's small, even if it's buried under disappointment and delay. All it takes is a breath of belief, and it can roar again. Rising is not about perfection. It's not about fame or applause or being seen. It's about refusing to let fear dictate your decisions. It's about doing the hard thing, the brave thing, the necessary thing. It's saying yes when everything in you wants to run. It's choosing courage over comfort. And sometimes rising means returning. Returning to the dreams you buried, to the promises you abandoned, to the voice you silenced, to the you that existed before the world taught you to dim your light. You don't have to wait until you feel strong to rise. Rising begins in weakness. It begins when you admit you've had enough of living beneath your potential. When you get tired of living small just to avoid failure. When you choose to stretch, even if it hurts, because growth always requires discomfort. But the cost of staying the same is greater than the risk of becoming who you were created to be. You've survived, yes, but now it's time to live, to rise, to step into the identity that's been waiting on the other side of your fear. You're not here by accident. You're here because something in you is still fighting, still believing, still reaching for more. Your voice matters. Not just the words you speak, but the presence you carry, the truth you hold, the story that lives inside of you. There's a sound in your soul that was never meant to be silenced. A truth so unique to your journey that no one else can speak it the way you can. And yet, somewhere along the way, you may have been taught to quiet it, to dim your fire, to edit yourself so you wouldn't take up too much space. Maybe you were told your voice was too much or not enough. Maybe they misunderstood your passion or dismissed your pain. But none of that changes the fact that your voice is needed. There are people waiting for what only you can say, waiting for your perspective, your honesty, your experience. You don't have to speak like anyone else. You don't have to sound polished or profound. You just have to be real. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs truth. It needs the kind of truth that cuts through the chaos, the kind that awakens something dormant in the soul. And your voice has that power. Not because you're perfect, but because you've lived, you've felt things deeply, you've survived things silently, and that carries weight. Your voice is not just for others, it's for you too. Because every time you speak your truth, you reclaim a part of yourself. Every time you tell your story, you silence the shame that once tried to mute you. Every time you stand in your truth, even when your knees shake, you become more free. And the free you become, the more your voice carries. Not in volume, but in depth, in resonance, in authenticity. You don't have to shout to be powerful. You just have to be honest. Honest with yourself and honest with the world around you. Too many have learned to perform instead of speak, to entertain instead of express, to echo others instead of discovering their own sound. But your voice isn't meant to mimic, it's meant to lead. Lead people back to hope, lead people back to healing, lead people into conversations that matter. And that leadership starts the moment you decide to stop hiding. You don't need permission to speak. You don't need approval to matter. You don't need a platform to be impactful. You just need to open your mouth and let the truth rise. There are things in this world that will never change unless someone has the courage to say what others are afraid to. Not with arrogance, but with authority, with compassion, with clarity. That someone could be you, because the things you've overcome have given you insight. The things you've endured have given you compassion, and the things you've learned in silence are now meant to be spoken. There is healing in your words. There is freedom in your story. There is power in your perspective. You don't need to know everything to speak. You don't need to be at the finish line to encourage others along the way. You just need to be present. Present with your truth. Present with your heart. Present with your pain. That presence alone can shatter strongholds, shift atmospheres, and spark the very revival someone else has been praying for. The fear you feel before you speak, that's the sign that what you carry is worth saying. That hesitation is the proof that your voice holds weight. And once you release it, something begins to change, not just around you but within you. Something begins to align, to unlock, to awaken, because your voice isn't just sound, it's assignment, it's legacy. It's a weapon against every lie that ever told you to stay quiet. You are closer than you think. Closer to the shift, the healing, the open door, the breakthrough that you've been waiting for. It may not feel like it. You may still be surrounded by silence, still facing resistance, still wondering if anything is changing at all. But there is movement happening in the unseen. There is progress beneath the surface. There are things aligning behind the veil of your frustration. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean it isn't real. Just because you don't feel it doesn't mean you aren't standing on the edge of something holy. So often, the moments just before the breakthrough are the hardest. The pressure intensifies. The lies get louder. The urge to quit becomes overwhelming. You look around and everything in your natural world says it's over, that nothing is working, that all this effort has been in vain. But that is the moment when something sacred is being tested. Your endurance, your belief, your willingness to trust even when the results haven't shown up yet. That moment is not punishment, it's preparation. Because what's coming next will require more of you. It will stretch you higher, carry you further, and call you deeper than anything you've walked through before. You are closer than you've ever been, not because you feel strong, but because you haven't quit. Every time you chose to get up instead of give up, you moved forward. Every time you chose to believe instead of break, you moved closer. Every time you stayed faithful when no one was watching, when nothing seemed to change, you were building a foundation strong enough to carry the weight of the promise that's coming. And that's why it feels so heavy right now, because the shift is near. Because you're not in the same place you were. You've come through too much. You've endured too long. You've grown too deep to be on the wrong path. Don't let your feelings fool you. They're real, but they're not the whole truth. Feelings fluctuate. Circumstances shift. But truth stands. And the truth is, your journey is not stuck. It's unfolding. Not at your pace, but at the perfect pace. Not according to your plan, but according to the divine design that sees the whole picture when you can only see the next step. Your delay is not a denial. Your detour is not a defeat. It's just a different route to the same destination. It's just a new path to an old promise. And when it comes, it may not look like what you imagined. The answer might come wrapped in a new direction. The door might open to something unfamiliar. The healing might begin with something small, but it will come. Because you didn't wait in vain, because your tears have been counted, because your hope has not gone unnoticed, and because the vision placed in you was not a fantasy. It was a preview, a glimpse of what was always meant to be yours, waiting on the other side of your persistence. It's not just about holding on, it's about preparing. Prepare like it's already on the way. Speak like the shift is already happening. Walk like the promise is already yours. Because that's what faith does. It doesn't wait for the evidence to show up before it moves. It moves until the evidence catches up. And right now, even if you can't see it, the evidence is gathering. The change is forming. The path is being cleared. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be for everything to begin unfolding in ways you couldn't plan, predict, or perform on your own. You've felt the breaking, the waiting, the stretching. You've questioned your worth, your place, your voice. But every moment has been shaping you. Every silence, every setback, every scar. This is not the end of your story, this is the rising. You are not here by accident. You are here because something greater is calling you higher. You are here because what you carry still matters. The pain did not disqualify you. The past did not cancel you. The delay did not destroy you. It all became fuel for the fire that still burns in your soul. Now is the time to step forward, not with fear but with fierce faith. Not in perfection but in purpose. Because this very moment has the power to change your life forever. And if you can hold on, if you can believe again, if you can rise one more time, you will see what was always meant to be yours begin to unfold, not someday now.